I cosplayed this Misa figurine I randomly found on the internet, and today I'm showing you how I made the dress, the gloves, and all the accessories I added. I started by grabbing a shirt I already own with a similar cut to the dress. I can't see the back of the dress in the reference, so I'm just using the shirt's back, since it's very fitting for the dress. I'll only have to change the neckline. I'll make it straighter and lower to create a larger V neckline. I'll also add more fabric at the bottom to make the shirt a dress. I laid the shirt on this thin pattern paper and traced 1/2 of the back piece. Then I folded along the middle of the unfinished pattern and traced the first half. This way both sides are symmetrical. Technically, it also would have been enough to only trace and cut out 1/2 of the shirt. That is because I folded the pattern back in half and also folded my fabric. I then aligned the folded edge of the pattern with the folded edge of the fabric and traced the pattern onto the fabric. I cut out the folded fabric with 1.5 centimeters of seam allowance. I did the same things with the front of the shirt as well and changed the neckline into the previously described V shape. From scraps of the same fabric, I made some folded ribbons. I just ironed it, cut one side straight, folded it to the right thickness and ironed it as well, and lastly, cut the other edge straight. I pinned the ribbons around both armholes and the neckline for a nicer finish of the edges. I sewed them with a flexible stitch, or often also called jersey stitch. I overlocked all of the remaining raw edges, but I definitely still have to practice that more, because I actually cut a hole in the dress while overlocking. I just sewed that shut at the end. I didn't like how the ribbon laid in the front, so I sewed it a bit tighter. This first attempt looked horrible, but I corrected it off camera. After sewing the shoulders and sides together, the dress was finally wearable, but this wasn't the correct length. I cut it shorter and marked where I wanted to fold it. I prefer a thicker fold at the bottom, so I measured the distance for my first marking and marked all around the bottom. I then pinned it, ironed it, and sewed it down. And with that, the last piece missing is the zippers. To find the right placement, I put on the dress and looked at my reference until I marked the correct spots. I cut the fabric at my markings, and after that came the pinning nightmare. I first pinned the dress to itself to fold the edge in. I then had to pin the zippers to the dress. I first attempted to sew all of this with my sewing machine, but that looked absolutely terrible. It did not work out at all. So I removed the seam, pinned everything down again, and sewed in the zippers by hand with an invisible stitch, more commonly known as a ladder stitch. For a ladder stitch, I insert the needle in the right side of the fabric where I just folded the hem in. My needle then also comes out of the fabric again with a bit of distance to where I inserted it. I then go over to the zipper and make the same kind of stitch there. I do that over and over again and then pull the thread to close the gap. I definitely prefer this invisible stitch to the attempt with the sewing machine. It just looks so neat. And with that, the dress is finished. Now it's time for the gloves. Since I'm using the same fabric for the gloves, a stretchy jersey, I don't need exact measurements of my arms. So I just trace the outline of my arm and hand, cut it out, trace the pattern on the fabric, cut that out 4 times and sewed the sides together. I didn't sew the tips of the fingers because these are fingerless gloves. I put on the gloves, marked to where I wanted the fingers to go, and with a tiny bit of distance, cut them off. I left the extra fabric and the edge raw because this jersey will roll in on itself and won't fray either. And I'm lazy. To be closer to the reference, I would have to wear leather pants. However, those skin-tight leather pants just don't look good on me and make me feel very uncomfortable. I got these looser, thicker leather pants, which definitely make me feel more comfortable, but I don't think they work well with the dress. So instead, I'm going to wear black tights. It just looks way better on me and I feel so comfortable in these. For shoes, I got the second-hand over-knee shoes and just pulled them under my knees. And the remaining fabric I just bulked up around my ankles. For accessories, I added things I already have at home. I added fitting earrings and several necklaces and chokers like Misa has in the reference. I also added this belt to which I attached 2 chains and a regular belt over that. And with that, I have the entire cosplay assembled. The last thing missing is makeup and a photo shoot. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope you got something helpful out of my rambling, and if not, maybe at least some entertainment. If you haven't watched the first part where I made the wig, I recommend you do that as well. If I figured out how it works, you can click on the screen right now. Bye bye, and good luck with your cosplay!